Seoul, I'm Kim Mo-kyun. Before we get started, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. As many await the development of a vaccine for COVID-19, scientists are racing to deliver safe and effective vaccines by next year. The World Health Organization says 11 companies have reached the final stages of testing. Despite calls for a concession, U.S. President Donald Trump and his campaign are continuing to fight the projected election results tooth and nail. The White House is reportedly trying to impede the transfer of power to President-elect Joe Biden. And South Korea's local labor market saw its biggest drop in 6 months. Statistics says Korea says the total number of people in employment in October was around 27 million, down some 421,000 from the previous year. We begin with the COVID-19 situation in the nation. South Korea has reported 146 new COVID-19 cases on Wednesday. It's the 4th day in a row that the number of cases has been in the triple digits. Of them, 113 were local transmissions and 33 were from overseas. Cluster infections continue nationwide, not only from hospitals and facilities for senior citizens, but also from small gatherings. 2 more deaths have been reported, bringing the death toll to 487. COVID-19 cases around the globe are at all-time highs, with more than 50 million infections confirmed worldwide. Despite the alarming surge, the recent development of COVID-19 vaccines are set to bring the end of the pandemic one step closer. Our Chun Min-jung has the details.
As hopes are raised for an end to the pandemic, scientists are racing to deliver safe and effective COVID-19 vaccines by next year. According to the WHO BBC research, 11 companies have reached the final stages of testing. Among the leading contenders, Pfizer and its partner firm BioNTech were the first to share findings from their final testing stages. The companies announced on Monday that their vaccine was more than 90% effective, and they aim to produce 50 million doses by the end of this year and 1.3 billion in 2021. Following Pfizer and BioNTech, biotech companies Moderna, AstraZeneca in partnership with the University of Oxford, and Johnson & Johnson are also among the strongest candidates in the final phase of trials. Moderna, partnered with the National Institutes of Health, began its Phase 3 trial in July after yielding positive results from human trials in March. The company's vaccine could be authorized for emergency use by the end of this year if results meet FDA standards. Both AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson put their trials on hold during development to investigate adverse reactions in volunteers. However, their trials resumed shortly afterwards, and both companies expect to see results by the end of December. In response to the development of the recent vaccine, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the U.S. top infectious disease expert, told CNN that it was good news, but no one should let their guard down just yet. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
Despite calls from many Biden voters, the media and others for a concession, U.S. President Donald Trump and his campaign are continuing to fight the projected election results tooth and nail. The White House is reportedly trying to impede the transfer of power to President-elect Joe Biden. Our Kim Hyo-sun reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump continues to take to Twitter to insist that he has claimed victory days after making it official that he will not concede the presidential race. He highlighted that Republicans are making great progress and that they will make America great again. This comes as the Trump campaign filed a lawsuit to stop the certification of the election results in Pennsylvania, while counties there continue to sort through provisional ballots as well as late-arriving mail-in ballots. His campaign also continues to challenge election procedures in court as recounts move forward in Georgia and possibly Wisconsin. Meanwhile, President-elect Joe Biden and his campaign are accelerating their White House transition plans. However, the White House has reportedly instructed senior government leaders to block cooperation with Biden's transition team, escalating a standoff that threatens to impede the transfer of power and prompting the Biden team to even consider legal action. Media outlets also explained that the White House insists that the transition would not be recognized until the election was confirmed by the General Services Administration, the low-profile agency that officially starts the transition. Against this backdrop, Biden has talked on the phone with Canadian Prime Minister without official support from the State Department. Meanwhile, President Trump is set to make his first public appearance since the presidential contest was called for Biden on Saturday. According to the White House, he will be visiting Arlington National Cemetery on Wednesday to mark Veterans Day. Kim Hyun-san, Arirang News.
Tensions between the U.S. and China are heating up once again after Washington announced another round of sanctions over its treatment of Hong Kong. This comes amid strained relations between the two superpowers over a wide range of issues, including trade, Taiwan, and COVID-19. Our Lee Kyung-eun has the latest.
China has strongly criticized the U.S. for what it called a serious violation of international laws and interference in Hong Kong's domestic affairs. It was a response to Washington's latest sanctions on 4 additional Chinese officials for cracking down on anti-government activists in Hong Kong. The penalties will bar them from both traveling to the U.S. and accessing any American assets. China warned the U.S. about taking the wrong path.
We urge the U.S. side to immediately stop interfering in Hong Kong's affairs, immediately withdraw its so-called sanctions, and not go further down the wrong path.
The fundamental cause of the sanctions, according to the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, are the officials' role in implementing China-imposed national security law in Hong Kong. The controversial law punishes any acts of treason, terrorism, or collusion with foreign forces as a crime, which the U.S. believes undermines Hong Kong's autonomy. For similar reasons, the U.S. previously imposed sanctions on several other senior officials, including Hong Kong's top leader Carrie Lam back in August, for her role in suppressing freedom during the city's pro-democracy movement. Last month, the State Department also warned international financial institutions of tough sanctions in case of any connection with those people. The latest designations mark the first sanctions imposed since the U.S. presidential election. And many eyes are on how the strained relations will unfold once President-elect Joe Biden takes office in mid-January. Lee Kyung-eun, Arirang News.
Seoul's foreign minister has held talks with her American counterpart to discuss the Korean peace process. While in Washington, there's also speculation Kang Kyung-hwa will reach out to potential members of the incoming U.S. administration. Our foreign affairs correspondent Yoon Jung-min reports.
The top diplomats of South Korea and the U.S. once again reaffirmed the two countries' alliance for co-prosperity and for the Korean peace process. Seoul's top diplomat Kang Kyung-hwa met with her American counterpart Mike Pompeo on Monday, and they agreed to work together to manage Korean Peninsula issues in a stable manner. The two diplomats also discussed how their countries have managed to continue exchanges between their people in the pandemic without having to completely close their borders. Also discussed was the race for the post of Director General at the World Trade Organization. The race is still ongoing, and South Korea's Trade Minister Yoo Myung-hee is one of the two candidates. A readout from the State Department called the South Korea-U.S. alliance the linchpin to peace and security for the Indo-Pacific region, and it said the two diplomats discussed expanding their cooperation through the U.S. Indo-Pacific strategy and South Korea's new Southern policy. While in Washington, Kang is expected to meet with lawmakers and scholars as well, possibly building contacts with people close to U.S. President-elect Joe Biden. Some say face-to-face meetings, however, might not be possible because of coronavirus concerns. Kang is accompanied by Seoul's top nuclear envoy Lee Do-hun, who met on Monday with his own U.S. counterpart Stephen Biegun to discuss the Korean peace process. He's expected to meet with other key figures as well, including officials at the White House. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
The COVID-19 pandemic continues to leave a painful mark on South Korea's jobs market, with October seeing the sharpest drop in 6 months. According to data from Statistics Korea Wednesday, the number of people in employment last month was around 27 million, down some 421,000 on year. This marks the sharpest decline since April. The figure has also been on a downward trend for 8 months in a row. The manufacturing and accommodation sectors were hit the hardest, but the decline was less pronounced in the education and retail sectors due to the easing of social distancing rules. South Korea's economy will become one of the 10 largest economies in the world this year, beating Brazil, the largest in Latin America. According to a Brazilian Economics Institute, Brazil had the 9th largest global economy last year, but is projected to fall to 12th. This was mainly due to the COVID-19 outbreak and the country's weakened currency. The top 8 countries with the largest economies this year is forecasted to include the US, China, Japan, and Germany. Both Canada and Korea are likely to share 9th place with GDPs of $1.6 trillion. November 11th might seem like any other ordinary day, but in China, it marks the start of the world's biggest 24-hour online shopping event. Watchers say that with more people pent up from the pandemic, the event will break new records. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
China's version of Black Friday, dubbed Singles' Day, kicks off Wednesday. And this year, the world's biggest 24-hour online shopping event is ready to break new records. Started by Chinese e-commerce giant Alibaba in 2009, this year's event includes more than 350,000 brands with 2 million new products. While robot cleaners, vacuums, and other household goods are expected to be popular, luxury brands are looking to get a huge sales boost as millions of Chinese who have been unable to travel overseas will flock online for what experts are calling revenge spending. Also, given the pandemic, health products such as vitamins and air purifiers are expected to be hot sellers. Watchers say that with so many consumers frustrated by the pandemic, this year's event will break new records. To boost sales even more, the event started on November 1st and will end at midnight on Thursday. On pace to smash the annual sales record, total purchases already passed the $56 billion mark in the 10 days leading up to the main event through its first 30 minutes. November 11th has been celebrated as Singles' Day since Alibaba founder Jack Ma started the global shopping festival in 2009 with just 27 merchants. His goal was to increase online shopping on a day to celebrate single people. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Hello, I'm Lee Ji-yeon with the latest weather updates. We had a cold start to the day, but the chill eases this afternoon with highs above the season norms. But do expect big temperature differences for most inland parts of the country. They could be as wide as 20 degrees Celsius. The air remains dry though. The East Coast and the outskirts of Northeast Seoul, including Muwon-gu district, are under dry weather alerts, so drink plenty of water. Mountainous regions in Gangwon-do province are under a dry weather warning. Be extra careful not to start fires. Highs will climb to the mid to upper teens, rising 2 to 3 degrees higher this afternoon under plenty of autumn sunshine. Readings will remain on the mild side, but big gaps between the lows and highs will continue for the time being. Also, we'll have decent air today, but there's a high chance that fine dust levels could rise over the next few days. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
And that's a wrap for us at the hour on Arirang News. We'll be back with more of the day's headlines at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching and goodbye.